Hi, my name is Mark Stipic. I'm the work cover guy, and thank you for tuning in. Today I'm answering the question, how should employers go about terminating an injured worker's employment? I've spoken before about the employment obligation period. There's a 52-week obligation there, so make sure you check that out first and make sure you're sort of positioned correctly as far as your legal obligations there. When it comes to this question, how do you go about terminating someone's employment? Let's say, for example, if you're outside the obligation period, the first thing I would say is the process shouldn't be about terminating someone's employment. It should be about assessing the situation and trying to find something that's sustainable for everyone in the long term. And termination of employment is one of those potential options. It could even be better for the worker in the long run if it's a pain in the backside for everyone, battling with these suitable duties. Maybe there's something better for them out there in the job market. Okay, so there's a process that employers can go through that can review potential outcomes. One of them being termination of employment, another one being redeployment internally, another one being formalizing the current light duties into something permanent. Another one could be realizing that we've set a benchmark and we might actually achieve full duties down the track. Okay. So first and foremost, when it comes to that question around how do we terminate this person, the process should be focused on having an open mind, doing everything we can to keep them, and doing everything we can to find a great outcome for the business and for the injured worker. So now that I've said my piece around, the fairness and the ethics around it all, what's the practical side of it? The reality is you're not really supposed to rely on work cover information like independent medical examination reports to make decisions around employment. So there's a few key things that you should incorporate into a process if you're reviewing a person's employment. First, I would say obtain some medical information. You could request a report from the workers' treating doctor, or you could arrange a functional capacity evaluation through an occupational rehabilitation provider or an occupational therapist or a physiotherapist. Okay, just gather up some sort of relatively independent, just a piece of medical information that can be a conversation starter. So in the example that you've got an occupational therapist on site, ask them to do a functional capacity evaluation to assess the requirements of the job and assess what the worker is able to do. If the two don't match up, then you've started a conversation. And what you need to do thereafter is provide the information back to the worker, advise them what you're sort of starting to think. It's like, well, we may not be able to keep doing this indefinitely. Invite them to provide information from their treating doctor or even just from themselves about their timeframes or prognosis for getting back to full pre-injury duties. Now, if and when you've gotten that information back, you need to weigh everything up. The information we've gotten previously, the history of everything that's happened prior to now, what, if anything, the worker has brought to us, and the business needs to start thinking about what are we going to do. And before you make a decision, you need to suggest to the worker, we've reviewed all the information, here's where we think it's sitting, but here's your opportunity to convince us otherwise. Here's your right of reply. It's one of the most important things that differentiates between a fair dismissal and an unfair dismissal is whether a worker was consulted and whether they were given a right of reply. So if an employer has made it crystal clear to someone that we can't find a way that we can keep you employed indefinitely, we've got information that says you're not fit for the inherent requirements of the role, so we are seriously thinking about terminating your employment. You should never make that decision there on the spot. You can tell a worker that you're thinking about it and give them a chance to respond. When I say give them a chance, I mean leave it for 24 hours or a week. If the worker doesn't come back with anything to convince you otherwise, then it might be the decision is made to terminate the person's employment. I don't recommend making this sort of decision based on something you saw in a YouTube video. I strongly recommend if you're not 100% confident about the process you're going through, that you should probably give me a call. Head to markstipic.com.au. I can have a chat with you about it or seek legal advice from a solicitor. But I hope this is giving you some background on how that sort of process works. It's not straightforward, but it's not overly complicated either. I will just reiterate that the focus needs to be not on just terminating a person's employment. The focus should be on finding a suitable, sustainable outcome that's the right outcome for everyone involved. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and head over to markstipic.com.au.